The H1B Guy here, and today, the H1B Guy news for the week ending March 19th, 2021. Today we'll cover USCIS policy change for H1B denials, wage level increases delayed, healthcare workers in the green card backlog protest, and 1 million IT job openings and counting. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, to please subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube and like this video so that I can continue to produce more content like this for you. I also wanted to mention the H1B Guy offers a variety of consulting services. I help businesses and individuals solve complex work authorization issues in the recruitment process while bringing awareness to employment-based immigration benefits. If I can help you, please reach out. I'd love to hear how. A reminder that today's news is brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. I wanted to start off by sharing a tweet I received yesterday from @liberty_IMMIGRN that said, "Thanks, Robert, for your efforts in creating awareness about H1B and removing layers of vilification piled up over the years." I'll tell you that just means so much to me personally, and I replied back immediately and said as much. It just continues to validate that what I'm doing here on the H1B Guy platform is what I was called to do. And I'm going to continue to speak out and advocate for change because we have some of the most archaic immigration laws in the entire world. And it's time that laws that were written in 1990 are reformed. Wednesday morning, I had the chance to present to the COO Forum of Atlanta on H1Bs for COOs, along with Greg Siskind, where I discussed the value of the H1B visa, and he covered H1B legislation. I want to clarify a few things because there were a lot of comments that jumped to conclusions really without any merit. Greg and I were separately invited, and this was the first time I personally met and interacted with Greg. If and when the presentation becomes available for public consumption, I'll share it. Also on Wednesday, my interview that was recorded on January 11th for the Ivy podcast finally aired. I know a lot of you have already checked it out on YouTube and listened to it on their podcast, but I'll put the links in the description. I'd love to have the most watched video on their YouTube channel, so please go check it out. Late Thursday, really last night, huge news came out from the House of Representatives, which passed the Dream and Promise Act by a vote of 228 to 197. We'll see what happens in the Senate, as this was a very close vote, and there are a lot of changes that are most likely going to be made. We discussed this at length last night on the Documented Dreamers Series Live, Episode 3, with Deep from ImproveTheDream.org, and I wanted to just give one last thanks to Aaron, Sumana, and Morgan for coming on and sharing their story. Now, the news. March 12th, 2021, in a news alert on USCIS.gov titled, USCIS may reopen H1B petitions denied under 3 rescinded policy memos. Quote, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services today announced it may reopen and or reconsider adverse decisions on Form I-129 petition for a non-immigrant worker made based on 3 rescinded policy memos. USCIS will generally use its discretion to accept a motion to reopen filed more than 30 days after the decision if filed before the end of the validity period requested on the petition or labor certification application, whichever is earlier, and the decision was based on one or more policies in the rescinded H1B memoranda. Both policy memorandum 602 0114 and Policy Memorandum 602-0142 state that they may apply to any pending or new H1B petitions, including motions on and appeals of revocations and denials of H1B classification. A petitioner may request USCIS reopen and or reconsider adverse decisions based on the 3 rescinded policy memos by properly filing Form I-290B, Notice of Appeal or Motion, accompanied by the appropriate fee. Additionally, USCIS recently extended through March 31st, 2021, COVID-19 related accommodations that affect the deadlines for filing motions and appeals. USCIS reminds petitioners that even when a motion to reopen or reconsider is filed, accepted, and processed by USCIS, petitions will remain subject to all remaining and relevant eligibility requirements during any reopening or reconsideration. This is an interesting change that came out late last Friday and definitely shows that there are changes happening within USCIS as we speak. Typically, when an H1B visa is denied, there are very few options. Most individuals working on an H1B visa who experience a denial will immediately seek an H1B change of employer transfer. If they do not decide to leave the country, there's 2 things at play. 1, they have 60 days to leave the U.S. And 2, their employer is responsible for their return travel expense. If you speak with any immigration attorney, they will tell you that as an employer, if the denial is without just cause, then a lawsuit can be a viable option in reversing the decision. Now we have USCIS publicly stating that it will review H-1B denials by rescinding 3 different policy memorandums. I'm not sure how many will qualify or how many employers will even consider this option. Regardless, let's hope it's a sign of more transparency for USCIS going forward. March 13th, 2021, in an article written by Priyanka Sangani for the Economic Times titled, Biden admin issues notification to further delay mandatory minimum pay for H-1B visas. Quote, the United States will delay a rule that calls for increasing the minimum pay of H-1B visa holders. The administration of U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to postpone the Donald Trump-era rule to May 14th from its earlier date of March 14th, which had also been initially rescheduled from January 14th to allow for public comments. The implementation of the rule, which starts July 1st, however, remains unchanged as of now. The Department of Labor said it had received 57 comments on the rule, of which 17 supported the delay. The rule calls for a phased increase in wages for H-1B visa holders and those in line for permanent residency through an employer-sponsored green card. Over time, this would increase wages by 23 to 41%, depending on the role and location, effectively pricing foreign students and several others out of the job market. Hard to believe that this thing is still hanging around, and I've covered this a good bit, but the fact that President Biden's administration has not rescinded this rule completely is very telling. As previously predicted, we will see some sort of wage level increase for H-1Bs across the board. But I don't think we'll see those outrageous increases that were previously issued, even these here which were modified. Even by reducing the increases to a tiered approach, the numbers still appear to be above market and will most likely be challenged in the courts again. But the fact that this hasn't gone away leads me to believe wage level increases of some kind are going to happen sooner rather than later. March 18th, 2021. In an article written by Lalit K. Jha, written for PTI, titled Indian American Healthcare Workers and Green Card Backlog Hold Demonstration Before U.S. Capitol. Quote, a group of Indian American frontline healthcare workers languishing in green card backlog held a demonstration in front of the U.S. Capitol urging lawmakers and the Biden administration to end the per capita country-specific quota. We are frontline COVID warriors, and we are here to tell how we have been shortchanged in a life of perpetual indentured servitude. Each of us has a story. We are here from all over the country asking for justice, justice that has precluded us for decades now. Dr. Raj Karnatat, an infectious disease and critical care physician, and Dr. Pranav Singh, A pulmonary and critical care physician said. Most of us are from India. We trained in the U.S. and took oath as physicians to serve the sick and needy. Most of us are serving the rural and underserved areas. We are in a green card backlog due to archaic country caps that allow no country to get more than 7% of employment-based green cards, said the two Indian American doctors, organizers of the peaceful protest, said in a joint statement. Frontline healthcare workers need immediate relief. They are suffering for a very long time. As frontline healthcare workers who are risking their lives in this pandemic, the least we deserve is a certainty. A certainty that if we die or get disabled, our children and spouses won't be kicked out of the country, said the joint statement on behalf of the protesters. As most of you know, I've become close personal friends with Dr. Raj Karnatak over the last 6 months. He and I befriended each other after Dr. Pranav Singh posted on Twitter his story and why he was staying in India with his family for the time being. Before that, I was one of the millions of Americans unaware of this issue plaguing medical professionals across the country. Dr. Raj has been on my YouTube channel and shared his story during Stamp It Out 7 Q&A, and also, most recently, he was on the H1B Guy and Friends Live Episode 2. He messaged me a few weeks ago letting me know he was going to the Capitol as part of a campaign associated with frontline healthcare workers and green card backlog, which can be found on Twitter at frontline_IN. I'm very proud of Dr. Raj and his efforts and very grateful to call him my friend. I hope you enjoyed the pictures of seeing his protest at the Capitol. March 18th, 2021. In an article written by Stuart Anderson for Forbes titled Over 1 Million Job Vacancy Postings in Computer Occupations in the U.S., quote, there are over 1 million unique active job vacancy postings in computer occupations in the United States as of March 7th, 2021, up 11% from 12 months earlier based on data from MC Job Posting Analytics, according to an analysis by the National Foundation for American Policy. The unemployment rate in computer occupations is down to 2.3% in February 2021, below the level of 3% in January of 2020 before the coronavirus pandemic started. Still, even if one adopts a zero-sum approach, there are nearly 20 times more job vacancy postings in computer occupations than new H1B petitions typically used by companies in computer occupations each year. There are also likely many more openings than publicly posted positions. The data showed 10 of the 13 occupational categories increased in active job vacancy postings from 12 months earlier. Postings for jobs as information security analyst rose by 17%, while active job vacancy postings for software developers and software quality assurance analysts and testers increased by 14%. Postings for computer and information research scientists increased by 21%. The Biden administration said in an interim national security guidance released in March 2021, it would restore our nation's historic strengths by ensuring our immigration policy incentivizes the world's best and brightest to study, work, and stay in America. Keeping the two Trump administration H-1B regulations and imposing new immigration restrictions would almost certainly make that difficult to do. A reasonable conclusion would be to draw from an understanding of economics and the employment data over the past year is that foreign-born scientists and engineers are not preventing U.S. professionals from obtaining jobs in computer occupations, but rather helping U.S. companies in America become more competitive. The NFAP research handle on Twitter started following me this week, and that's huge news to me. Thanks to the follow for whoever is running that account. I love the perspective that comes from the NFAP, and I know a lot of people feel that they're really ultra liberal when it comes to immigration, but as I've talked about a lot on this channel, we want to talk about all sides and come to a conclusion somewhere in the middle. I like the data that they mine from MC It tells me so much of the story as to what's going on. You can ask any IT recruiter right now if they have a job they simply cannot fill because they can't find a candidate. I'm certain that requirement is counted in this data, and it's most likely counted multiple times. Do I think this 1 million job vacancies in IT is accurate? No, I don't. I think those numbers are inflated by staffing firms, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Posting the same requirement in different ways multiple times is an effort to attract the right candidate, and sometimes any candidate. Regardless, the February data shows computer occupation unemployment at 2.3%. Demand on IT talent has never been higher, and the exact same can be said for the H1B visa too. To read the full post on the H1B Guy news for the week ending March 19th, 2021, please check out the H1BGuy.com. Don't forget to sign up for the mailing list while you're there. And a reminder that today's news was brought to you by RecruiterNetworks.com, the smart solution for digital perm ads since 2001. This national job board network provides recruitment websites in 1,024 major U.S. metro areas. Each local job board is its own portal and is a low-cost resource for immigration recruitment ads for all industries and professions with a flat price of $225 per ad regardless of which city you choose. RecruiterNetworks.com has been the #1 place for immigration attorneys, immigration ad agencies, and employers to meet the DOL requirements for the digital portion of the perm advertisement rules. RecruiterNetworks.com. Tell them the H1B guy sent you. Just want to ask you again to please like this video, subscribe to the H1B Guy channel here on YouTube, and click the bell for notifications so that you're notified anytime we post new content here to this channel or go live like we did last night for the Documented Dreamer Series Live, Episode 2. If you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate your support. The H1B Guy, your global source for all things H1B.